This week on the Brody File, we head to Capitol Hill to talk to a man who's battling the Democrats and prostate cancer, Senator Tom Coburn.
None of us are guaranteed another day. And Jesus said, today has enough worries of itself.
Also previewing President Obama's State of the Union speech. Plus, a miracle baby now all grown up. The story of conservative Nick Adams, who beat cancer as a little boy, and now this Australian has fallen in love with America.
America is going through what I would call an identity crisis because it has allowed itself to be somewhat attacked by the agenda of the left.
We are up here on Capitol Hill. I know it stinks. We're going to hold our noses. We're on Across America. Brody File next. Ah, yes, there it is, Capitol Hill. Brody File on the road this week. Just a quick $10 cab ride over here from our studios. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the place of American dysfunction. We are glad you are with us. We are on Capitol Hill, and I got to tell you, there are a lot of politicians up here that are looking to get their name in the New York Times. They want notoriety, but we found one guy who said, the heck with all of that. He doesn't want any of it. His name is Tom Coburn. Well, you may have heard recently that Coburn will retire at the end of this year. That's 2 years before his term expires because he's battling prostate cancer yet again. This is the fourth time this has happened. By the way, Coburn is a Southern Baptist deacon. He's also a doctor and has been elected to the Senate twice. He's a fiscal and social conservative. He's also the rare politician who is looking for consensus with the other party. However, he still holds firm to his principles. We spoke to him here on the Hill recently about his health, but also his frustration with Washington, especially the latest dysfunction over unemployment benefits.
It's not a matter of whether people need help. It's about how you help them and whether or not you do something. So we ought to extend that, but we ought to extend it, one, by paying for it and not charging it to our children. Number two is we ought to put some things in there that require some community service while you're on unemployment, that requires you to actually really look for work rather than play the game and look for work. Three, we ought to say if you're not in a job training program, you ought to be in one. We spend $20 billion a year on those as the federal government. You ought to be in a job training program to give you a skill if you don't have a skill. Mm-hmm. So we ought to be doing those things. And the majority leader just wants a pure reauthorization for a year and to charge our kids $25 billion to pay for it. He doesn't want to pay for it, and what he wants is he wants to decide himself what the Senate will do, and that goes totally against the tradition of the Senate. The Senate was designed by Thomas Jefferson and our founders to force consensus. And when you won't allow ideas, you never get to consensus. And so that's why the Senate's blocked up.
And so what about this Senate dysfunction? I mean, is this a power play by Harry Reid?
Absolutely. The Senate will operate if you have a leader that'll let it operate. Yeah, all the tools he needs to make it operate, but what he can't do is say you can't have a vote on this because I don't want to take a tough vote. If you don't want to take a tough vote in the Senate, you shouldn't be here. And if you can't go home and defend your position on any issue, if you don't have the capability to do that, then you shouldn't be here either. So, it's childlike, but, what we're seeing is a dictatorial run Senate.
I am curious, we'll get to some policy stuff in a moment, but you talked earlier about, a little bit off camera, about this being a dark place. I mean, what is your sense about what's been going on here and what kind of perspective you've seen from Oklahoma now to Washington? You go back and forth. It's troubling to you, I could tell.
What you see is confusion. Mm-hmm. What's that about? What you see is emphasis of not a solution to a problem or the problem. You see emphasis on the symptoms of problems, not solutions. So you see, just a heavy weight in Washington about doing everything except what we should be doing. And I think it's heavily influenced because it's a dark place. And, and America sees it. That's why they have no confidence in us. And that's what's wrong with our economy today.
There are a lot of folks in our audience want to know how you are doing. There are a lot of prayers out there for you. Tell me a little bit about what this has been like really for a while now for you.
This is my fourth bout with cancer. I'm doing well. I've got great doctors in Oklahoma and Texas. I'm going to MD Anderson to a specialist down there, but I got a great oncologist by the name of Dr. Vazzaretti in Muskogee and a great urologist by the name of John Forrest in Tulsa. I'm getting the best treatment you can get. As a little side note, none of my treatment at MD Anderson will be covered under my insurance because they're excluded under the Obamacare exchanges. So, I have my own story to tell about Obamacare. But I'm doing well. None of us are guaranteed another day. And Jesus said, today has enough worries of itself. Don't worry about yesterday. All those sins are forgiven. You can't change the past. And don't worry about tomorrow. Be anxious for nothing, but everything through prayer and supplication, let your requests be made known to God. And the benefit of that is you get peace. And so I'm totally settled where I am. I like life, but I'm going to like afterlife a whole lot more. So I'm really setting good.
Senator Tom Coburn here on the Brody File. Great stuff. All right, time now to turn to the biggest political story in Washington and really across the country. 2 words for you: Chris Christie. Oi Gewalt. The New Jersey governor still dealing with the scandal that has engulfed his administration. First, it was details about how his team ordered traffic delays in the town of Fort Lee, New Jersey, after the mayor there refused to back Chris Christie's reelection. Well, now comes word that Hoboken's mayor says Christie and his administration, actually his administration, not just Christie, withheld millions of dollars of Hurricane Sandy relief money from her city until she would back a redevelopment plan. She never did.
Fact is that the lieutenant governor came to Hoboken. She pulled me aside in the parking lot and she said, I know it's not right. I know these things should not be connected, but they are. And if you tell anyone, I'll deny it. And so the bottom line is it's not fair for the governor to hold Sandy funds hostage for the city of Hoboken because he wants me to give back to one private developer.
Well, look, with all of the controversy surrounding Chris Christie, it is a perfect time for a Brody File commentary. Well, there is no doubt the bridge controversy leaves Chris Christie vulnerable as he gets set to potentially run in 2016 for the presidential race. But does it mean he is done completely? Hardly at all, folks. Look, obviously, if in the future we find out that Christie knew more or was more involved in all of this, obviously it becomes far more problematic and damaging for him because then it becomes a trust issue. However, at this point, Christie has taken quick, decisive action against the staffer involved. He's also held a 2-hour press conference answering every question under the sun. I mean, what more can you ask? It's refreshing that a politician like Christie will just let it fly unscripted in front of reporters for 2 hours. Look, he could have done what many politicians do. He could have read a 1-minute statement, take no questions. He could have hurried off the podium into seclusion with staffers in his office, but he didn't do that. And why? Well, because Chris Christie is not like that. Chris Christie is genuine. What you see is what you get. All right, when we come back on the big show, a State of the Union preview. The Democrats will be swooning and the Republicans will be downing Pepto-Bismol. Jenny in the B block dissects it all next. And welcome back, everybody, to the Brody File here on Capitol Hill. It is downright poisonous up here. We should have worn a hazmat suit or something like that. Look, there's a lot of vitriol between Republicans and Democrats, and it's going to get worse when the president delivers his State of the Union speech to Congress here on the Hill. So we need to break down the speech, and of course, who do we bring in? Well, we bring in the breakdown artist, Jenny in the B block.
You go, girl.
I'm dancing up a storm. Jenny, I know you're there at the White House. I don't know if you're dancing over there, but what's the president going to tell Congress this coming week?
David, I'm dancing over here just to keep warm. It is very cold here at the White House. Listen, President Obama has called this the year of action, but it's unlikely he'll be able to follow through with his theme, at least not on issues where he has to work with Congress. In fact, the State of the Union address, he could probably put in a recording from last year's address because much to the president's dismay, the still sluggish economy is likely to be a major part of his speech this year. Listen to this.
I firmly believe that this can be a breakthrough year for America. But to make that happen, we're going to have to act. to create good jobs that pay good wages, and to offer more Americans a fair shot to get ahead. That's what I'm going to be focused on every single day of this year.
Cleaning up a controversy from last year, the president has already announced changes to the way the National Security Agency collects information about Americans and America's allies. The president has also spent some time the past few weeks previewing other parts of his speech that we can expect, building on his goal to give all Americans a shot to achieve the American dream and grow the middle class. He's put in place some partnerships that make it easier for low-income students to connect with colleges and universities that are right for them without some of the barriers like application fees. He's also moving forward with Promise Zones, which encourages private investment in some of America's most economically distressed regions. And the president says he also wants to bolster American manufacturing by connecting cutting-edge research at colleges with companies that are ready to commercialize it.
We have always been about research, innovation, and then commercializing that research and innovation so that everybody can benefit. And then we start selling our stuff all around the world. We start exporting it. And we create good jobs.
And just to demonstrate how difficult it's been for this president to move some of his initiatives down the field, David, both his ideas for bolstering manufacturing in America and the Promise Zones, those were initiatives he spelled out in last year's State of the Union speech.
Right, a lot of domestic policies obviously he's going to talk about, and he'll talk about them again this year. What about foreign policy, Jenny? What's on tap there?
Yeah, foreign policy has to be a part of his speech. David, as you know, it's been a year and a half since the president called for the resignation of Bashar al-Assad. He still reigns in Syria as Syrians continue to be slaughtered. In Iraq, al-Qaeda is now wreaking havoc there. And the White House just finalized its details on its nuclear deal with Iran, which, David, as you know, has plenty of critics on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And boy, the president's got plenty of critics here. Hey, by the way, Jenny, the clock is ticking here, is it not? I mean, this is his second term, and he's running out of time here to get anything substantial done, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the midterm elections are this November, which gives Republicans a chance to really gain some ground in the U.S. Senate. And, you know, not too long after that, as you know, the attention is going to really turn to the men and women who are going to be vying to succeed the president. However, with all of that said, this president promises to do everything in his power to push his agenda.
Where Congress isn't acting, I'll act on my own.
He has a pen, and he's not afraid to use it to create some executive action. David?
Jenny, thanks. Stay warm there. Appreciate it. Thanks so much from the White House.
Sure.
All right, when we come back here on the show from Capitol Hill, a first grader's Bible speech is shut down. What in the world is that about? The church lady has the story next. And we are back here on the Brody File from Capitol Hill. All right, look, we've done politics, and this show is about faith and politics, so we need to do something about faith, don't we? Well, we're going to do those faith-filled, intriguing stories across the country with producer Tracy Winborn, but we call her the church lady.
Thanks, David. Here's a story about Christian censorship in the classroom. Here we go again, right? This one involves a first grader out of California who was talking to her classmates last month about the reason behind Christmas. And that reason, of course, is the birth of Jesus Christ. Now, this was actually part of a class assignment. The teacher had asked the students to share a family Christmas tradition and to bring an item from home that represents how they celebrate it. Well, that's when the parents of this girl, Bryn Williams, said their daughter was humiliated. She brought a Star of Bethlehem to class for her assignment, and when it came time for her presentation, Bryn's parents said the teacher interrupted her and told her to sit down because she's not allowed to talk about Jesus at school. Well, a Christian advocacy group has now gotten involved. They have asked the school to stop expressing, quote, hostility toward religion. They have also asked that the school apologize to Bryn and that they allow her to finish her assignment in front of her classmates. Well, now to a story about the healing power of Jesus' name. The Christian Post has linked to a video about Alzheimer's patient Mabel Cannon. Now, Mabel was in the advanced stage of the disease when she lost her ability to speak. But when her son started singing Jesus Loves Me to his mother, Mabel was miraculously able to sing along. Let's take a listen.
Jesus loves me, this I know.
Sing, Mabel.
Sing, Mom. The Bible tells me so.
Now, sadly, Mabel has since passed away, but no doubt her family is comforted that she is in heaven with her Lord and Savior. David, that's all for the church lady for now. Back to you.
That is a great, inspiring story. Hello, folks. That's great stuff. All right, thanks, church lady. Appreciate it. We'll see you, I don't know, somewhere in a pew near you. Whatever. All right, coming up next, this guy, what a remarkable story. He should have died as a baby boy. How this Australian conservative beat cancer, and he's now spreading his message around America. We're back in a moment. All right, we're back here on the Brody File from Capitol Hill. Look, we want to be clear about something here at the Brody File. We love Australia. We really do. We love the gorgeous scenery. We also dig Crocodile Dundee. We love that movie. And also, we think kangaroos are adorable, pretty cool as well. And now a new entry into the Australian very cool file. His name, Nick Adams. That's right, he's from Australia. But he's fallen in love with America. He's now a conservative political commentator who has written 2 books on conservatism. The first one is called America, the Greatest Good, and the other one is called Exceptional America, a message of hope from a modern day de Tocqueville. Adams recently stopped by for a chat in our Brody File studios to discuss this and beating cancer as a little baby. Look, you're a guy from Australia who has fallen in love with America. What has that been like? Explain your journey a little bit here.
Down under the top over, I think is probably the way to put it. Look, it's been a great journey, David. I've always loved America, and from a young boy, I was always fascinated by what America had to offer. Compelled by its story, interested in its future. And as I got older and I went to university and I started studying America and American history and reading as much as I could to find out about this place that had really captured me entirely, I decided that it was time for me to come to America and talk to Americans about why their country fascinated me and why I've always been drawn to their country and why I feel that they are losing some of what I think has made them the greatest country in the history of the world. And so over the last 3 or 4 years, I've been coming to America quite regularly. And I've been absolutely privileged to be able to meet so many Americans of different stripes right across the country, from east to west, from north to south, where I've gone and into their living rooms, on their television sets, in studios like this one. And I've spoken to them about what America means to me and what America means to the world, because sometimes, David, it takes someone on the outside to remind you what you're like on the inside.
And what has America kind of lost that you'd like to see her, if you will, recapture here?
Well, America's always been an incredibly confident country. And it pains me enormously that America is losing some of that confidence. It seems to have lost its self-belief, and in years gone by, David, American self-belief and American optimism has been almost like a force of nature. And I think it's an incredibly important component of American success that America truly does believe in itself. I think the engine of American exceptionalism is self-confidence. And yet America is going through what I would call an identity crisis, because it has allowed itself to be somewhat attacked by the agenda of the left, by the agenda of the secular left, who I think are promoting values and ideas and an approach that is completely the opposite of what America was founded on and what America is all about. America's always been a patriotic country, an individualistic country, a country of faith. I mean, the nation was founded on faith.
Before you get out of here, I am curious a little bit about your personal story, maybe your faith journey. You beat cancer at a young age. Tell me a little bit about your personal journey here.
When I was 16 months old, David, I was diagnosed with neuroblastoma, which is a form of childhood cancer. And the thing with neuroblastoma is it's an incredibly difficult cancer to diagnose. And most children that are diagnosed with neuroblastoma are diagnosed in stage 4, which is the most advanced stage when the tumour has metastasised throughout the body. And I was one of those children. When I was diagnosed with stage 4. And any child with stage 4 neuroblastoma is given a 5% chance of survival. Only 1 in 20 children survive. And through the grace of God, I was able to defeat cancer. I had an operation, I had chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and you know, I fought. And thankfully I don't remember much, but I know the enormous impact it had on my mum and dad and how it affected their lives. And you know, in some ways it's made me the person who I am today. I don't believe that there's any adversity that I can't overcome. I don't believe that there is any challenge that I can't conquer.
Well, good day, mate.
Good day. Nice to see you. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
That is Nick Adams on the Brody File. That is a great story. All right, coming next, our last segment. Forget the salt trucks when you're de-icing the road. All you need is a little mozzarella cheese. Back in a moment. And welcome back, everybody, to the Brody File. Well, look, here in Congress, they need some original ideas. Well, they need to look at what they're doing in Wisconsin because they've got some original ideas there, and that is this week's Oy Vey Moment of the Week. Well, leave it to the folks in the cheesehead state of Wisconsin to come up with this one. They're using cheese to de-ice the roads. That's right, you heard correctly. In Milwaukee, there's now a test pilot program that repurposes the cheese brine and combines it with the traditional rock salt to help de-ice the roads. Apparently, this will trim costs and ease pollution.
Sounds pretty weird. Sounds pretty tasty. I just think it's an interesting way to reuse a byproduct.
Cheese brine is more environmentally friendly and more efficient. Go for it.
By the way, they're going to use provolone and mozzarella. That's right, provolone and mozzarella are the two best cheeses to use in Milwaukee. Holy gewalt. I mean, what are they going to do next? De-ice the roads in New York with, I don't know, New York City pizza crust? That does it for this week. Until next time, everybody, God bless. Have a great week.